The federal election is finally over, and while many Australians are changing their Seek.com settings to New Zealand and others are preparing to expand the Great Barrier Reef by sinking Queensland into the sea, we here at The Leak are thanking the enormous and confusing ballot paper for being just confusing enough that some of the more obscure and irrelevant micro-parties that ran in this year's federal election remained that way. One such dumpster fire is the Great Australian Party, founded by former WA Senator Rod Cullerton.
Senator in exile.
Sorry, can I just finish my introduction, please?
The Australian Constitution doesn't really recognise freedom of speech, but I suppose I'll allow it.
So generous of you. Everybody, please welcome our own... sorry, do you really want me to call you this?
Yes, go on.
Fine. Please welcome our own correspondent in exile, Scott Limbrick. There you go. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Australia!
Now, Scott, you've recently been deep undercover investigating the Great Australian Party. What have you found?
Well, exactly that, Rose. It does what it says on the tin. The Great Australian Party is great. Thanks, Australia, and good night.
No, sorry, no, hang on there, Scott. Not quite finished.
Okay.
I'm going to need a bit more convincing than that. I mean, okay, so here's what I know about the Great Australian Party, right? So its leader, Rod Cullerton, an ex-One Nation member, was ousted from Parliament during the smash hit 2016 season of So You Think You Can Govern. That was the season, you might remember, where Australia learned what Section 44 of the Constitution was because a bunch of parliamentarians were ousted for being in violation of Section 44 for failing to declare dual citizenship. Rod Cullerton arguably won that season, though, by being booted out not for boring citizenship troubles, but for another Section 44 issue, being an undischarged bankrupt, and also for maybe kind of stealing a car. Whoopsie daisy.
Okay, well, that season of So You Think You Can Govern was biased and unjust, and I demand that you sign my petition to rewrite it.
I mean, how is it unjust?
Well, Senator Cullerton refuses to acknowledge the current constitution. He's a purist. He only recognises the original mandate as set down by the esteemed creators of this nation, Captain Cook and Ned Kelly. Well, it's not like any of you know. None of you know.
I mean, Scott, Section 44 was part of the original Constitution.
Okay, well, don't try to fool me with your entirely subjective interpretation of the linear passage of time, all right? If you want to get technical...
I absolutely do not want to get technical.
Good.
But look, it's as simple as this. Rod Cullerton is ineligible to hold office according to the original Constitution, the one that he purports to follow. His party's a sham and his case has been referred to the federal police.
Well, actually, it's as simple as this. You can't get arrested by the federal police if you don't acknowledge their authority.
I mean, yeah, you absolutely can.
Okay, well, agree to disagree, Rose?
I mean, agree to get arrested probably, but...
No, definitely not.
It's also worth noting that one of your party's candidates, former WA police officer Wayne Glue, has argued that he didn't have to pay land rates on his property because local governments didn't exist in the original 1900 version of the Constitution.
Well, that's right, because councils weren't in the 1900 Constitution. They have no right to exist today, and they shouldn't be able to steal our money through illegal rate collection. And if they try it, well, we'll call the police.
But I thought you just said that you don't recognise the authority of the police because they weren't in the original Constitution. Your logic is incredibly difficult to follow. I think I'm getting a headache.
Well, you know what's great for a headache, Rose? Heroin.
Sorry, what?
Well, it's a classic early 1900s remedy, just like the original Constitution intended. Heroin is great for headaches, toothaches, and easing the massive withdrawal symptoms that stem from a lack of heroin.
I mean, that's just getting ridiculous.
Okay, well, come on, Rosie, you're getting hysterical. But you know what's good for that?
I swear to God, if you say an old-timey vibrator, I will call the police.
Unconstitutional. Unconstitutional.
A good old-fashioned lobotomy, then.
Now you're getting it, Rose.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Scott Limbrick, I guess.